So the most popular video on this channel was a cinema rig for the ZVE10 for under $500, and I thought, you know what, let's up the ante a little bit. Let's see if we can build a rig for half that, $250. Now, all of the products that you see here that I'm using to build up this rig, I purchased with my own money. None of these products have sponsored this video, but this video is sponsored by Luminar Neo, but we'll talk a little bit more about them later on in the video. And with it being a sponsored video, that obviously means we have a giveaway, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So the Sony ZVE10 is an incredibly popular camera, and a lot of people do enjoy rigging it up. They're very fun videos to watch, but sometimes you can spend thousands of dollars rigging up a camera. Maybe you just want to have a cinema rig style build without spending that much money. So the question obviously then remains, how good of a rig can you build for $250? And you know what? I think we ended up somewhere pretty good. So I will give you the price list of all of these parts as we go, but unfortunately, a lot of times these prices change. So even from yesterday to today, one of these things has increased by $10, so I've had to rearrange a couple of things just to make it get under that $250 price point. But everything will be linked below. Those are obviously affiliate links. And if you come across a piece that is no longer available, just drop a comment down below and I'll try and find an alternative and stick that in the description. Obviously, the first thing you're going to need for any cinema rig is your camera, and we're going to be using the Sony ZVE10. It's not a cinema camera. It is just a camera, but it can produce a pretty good image for the price point. You can find these for like $500 pretty easily used on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, stuff like that. Great little camera. And we are going to need to add a cage to this camera. So we're going to be using this one, and this one is by Left Photo. It's actually made by loads of different companies, and I did find one on Amazon for $35.99, so $36. But it's a really cool looking little cage here. It's got a nice big wooden handle here on the side, which is really nice. We're not going to have the budget to add other handles, so having this nice big wooden one on the side gives you that kind of cool look. So first things first, you go ahead, attach your cage to the camera. And there we go, we got a cool looking camera already. It's a nice start. You got your big handle here on the side, and all of your ports are going to be on this side. Next thing, just add your lens. Now obviously the rig cost of $250 is not including the camera and the lens. We're going to talk a little bit more about those later, but basically this will work with any lens combination that you have. I'm using the Sigma 16 here because it's a very popular lens and I think a lot of people have it, and it's a great pairing for the Sony ZVE10. And it looks good. I think it's a nice little combo. And there we have our Sony ZVE10 with the lens and the cage on here. So the first thing we're going to put together is our battery solution. $250 will not even buy you some high-end V-mount batteries, right? And that's just the battery, never mind the entire rig. So we're going to be going for a cheaper alternative, which are Sony NPF batteries, but we're going to have just the same functionality, and it's a fantastic setup. So what you're going to need is one NPF 970 battery. Now the 970s are the largest. It's got the highest capacity. This one here is a 57 watt-hour battery. Really small, really cheap, $25 you can get for this battery. Or you can get a bundle of two for $32 or $31.49. One for $25 I think is great. If you can afford it, go get a couple, because it's always nice to have multiple. Great little batteries. And they last a long time. Now, to be able to use this, to be able to connect it to your camera, you need a NPF battery plate, and for that we're going to be using this one by Ulanzi. Now this kind of doubles up as two things. One, it's got your battery plate, so your battery sits on here. It shows you the charge of your battery whenever you press that button. You have a D-tap port on the side, which is kind of crazy, and a USB-A and a USB-C out on the top. Plus, it has a USB-C in on the bottom, which means that you can actually use this not just as the battery plate, but also as the battery charger. So whenever your battery dies, you don't actually have to like remove it from anything. You can actually just plug a USB-C in here and keep it charging at all times. We need a way of attaching this to our rig, and for that we're going to be using this cheese plate. This is a perfectly common cheese plate. They're everywhere. Everybody loves using these. It comes with a screw in the middle here, and it's got some screw holes here on the bottom. We're going to make sure that these are on the bottom, and this screw that's going through the very center here is going to go into the back of the Ulanzi plate. Now you're going to want to make sure that you orientate this correctly, so wherever the power in for this plate is the bottom. That's going to line up with the screw holes on the bottom of the cheese plate. It's basically a perfect fit, so you can just take your battery plate here and set your cheese plate on the back here, screw that in, and you're good to go. There you have your cheese plate on the back there of this whole battery plate. I'm just going to go ahead, take this battery off for now. It just makes it a little lighter and easier to carry. So here we have this NPF plate with cheese plate on the back, screw holes on the bottom. And for this, we're going to be attaching this directly to our tripod plate. So now I've given you a tripod plate in the Amazon list if you don't have a tripod or a gimbal or anything, and it's $9.80. If you have a tripod plate, that'll save the money. Or if you have a gimbal plate that you like to use, whatever it is that you use, Arca Swiss, Manfrotto, anything like that, just use the plate that you have. If you don't have one, go ahead and pick up one from Amazon. They're very, very cheap. What we're going to do is we're going to attach our battery plate to the very back of the quick release plate. Depending on your quick release plate, you may need to play around with which hole you use for this battery plate just to lift it up or down. But just play around with it until it fits. This one that I have has a nice hole at the very back here, so we're going to attach it like right at the very back, so it overhangs at the back, giving me access to that power delivery in port right there that you can see. Now we are only going to be able to use one screw here, but again, we got a budget of $250 here. We're not shooting any Netflix documentaries, so this is more just for fun. One screw in the back here should be fine. It'll hold it in place pretty well. And there you have it. You got a cool little L bracket with a tripod plate on the bottom, your battery plate on the back, and then real simple, you're just going to put your camera on here and screw it in with as many screws as you have access to, depending on which cage that you have for your camera. But this will obviously just sit like that, get it nice and lined up, and screw it in like this. So for this cage that we have 2 screw holes that you can put it in through here. First things first, obviously, by the way, just, pull out the monitor here, and that just gives you access to the monitor later on. You're not going to be able to open it once you've got this attached, so open that up first. And I like to get it as compact as possible, so I push it right up against the back of the camera, get it as snug as I can, and see on the back here you have that battery plate on the back of the camera, so we can actually open up that monitor over there. So it looks like this, and then you just take your NPF battery, slot it in there, and there we go, we got our battery and our camera lined up. It's not as big and as bulky as a V-mount battery, but it's also nowhere near the price, so that's always nice. In the description down below, I have a pack of 3 of these cables. It comes in with a pack of 3. They're only like $8 and something to get 3 of them. So it's just a right angle USB-A to USB-C. Go ahead and plug that into the USB-A port, and hide that little cable down in there, and then you're going to plug the USB-C port end into the camera, and that's just going to keep the battery charging. So we don't need to worry about dummy batteries, which are a lot more expensive. This is just going to add power delivery straight from the NPF battery into the camera. And that way what happens is your camera is continuously getting charged, and whenever this battery runs out of power, all you have to do is pop this battery out and swap it out for another one if you got the 2-pack. If not, this is still going to run you basically all day. So, that's all good. But the camera's going to keep running, your monitor's going to keep running, because they have their own independent batteries. This is more of just like a continuous power delivery solution. Now next we're going to add our top handle and our monitor. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor and today's giveaway. So over the last couple of months, I have switched all of my photo editing over to Luminar Neo just to test it out and see if I enjoyed it. And at first I was super skeptical because I kind of thought it was like this one-trick pony. You got all these AI features to replace skies and sort of completely transform and change your image, which is fun and kind of cool, but actually not personally my cup of tea. But actually those extreme AI features within the program are only a small part of what it is capable of doing. You see, Luminar actually is just a fantastic editing software for regular photos. You don't have to use all those AI features if you don't want to. They're not really my cup of tea. They might be yours, in which case you might really want to check out this program. But if you don't, it's still a fantastic option. It still gives you all of the kind of photo editing tools that you expect to see in any other professional editing software. You've got every single kind of color editing tab. You've got all of your exposure controls. You've got masking. You can change your sharpness, your grains, all these kinds of things, all built in within one software. So you're able to take images that look a little bit bland and you can turn them into something magical and dreamy using all of the AI features like this, or you can do what you would normally do with any photo editing software and just edit it in the way that you might want to, depending on your kind of tastes. It gives you all of those options straight from one program. Now, to me, the main thing that actually excites me about Luminar Neo in this program is not all of the features that it has, because it has all of them. It has everything you might need for photo editing. But what it does have that no other professional photo editing software that I know of has is you can actually just buy it. Right? You don't have to pay for the monthly subscription. I don't know about you, but I've got so fed up with monthly subscriptions and having to pay every single month for a software and then having to get 25 different softwares that all do something a little bit different, and you end up paying so much money every single month for all these different programs. Luminar has everything all built into one program that you could pay for monthly if you'd like to at a very competitive price, or you can just buy it and you have lifetime access. So if you're interested, head over to the link in the description or the one here on the screen and use code ThomasMcClure10 to save 10% off of one of their packages. Now, as this is a sponsored video, Luminar have also been kind enough to offer one of their lifetime packages to one of our viewers. And if you want to be in on that giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, comment down below, then head over to Instagram. Check out this post that you see on the screen here. No other post, just this one, and from this account only that you see on the screen. Any other account, it's not me. And drop a comment on this post, and we'll select one of you lucky people to receive a lifetime access to Luminar Neo. Thanks again to Luminar for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the rig build. Alright, so for the top handle, we are going to be using the Nitsy little stinger. It's a really nice little handle, works really well. It's got a NATO rail clamp on the bottom here, and that's the nice thing about this cage that we have, is it's got a built-in NATO rail on the top, so you don't need to buy another NATO rail. It's already built in. But before we attach that to the camera, we're going to attach our monitor mount and our monitor. Now, we actually don't have the budget for a dedicated monitor, but I have a great solution for you just using your smartphone. So first thing you're going to need is a monitor mount. These are just simple little hinges that you use to attach a monitor. This one is by Nitsy. I got this one for $20. It has since increased to $30 in price, but there's another one by Sure that I'm going to leave in the description down below. It is also $20. Keeps you within that budget. Or if you'd rather get this one because you get to see how it works, it might just be a few dollars more. Not the end of the world. So this one has a 3/8 screw on the bottom with a couple of what are called area locating pins. That just means with one screw it's not going to swivel around because those pins lock into the top of the handle. So we're going to put that facing downwards so that, you know, it keeps the monitor nice and low profile. And then we're going to use an incredibly cheap phone mount. This literally has a 1/4-20 screw on the bottom here. There's one on the back as well, but we're not going to use that one. 1/4-20 on the bottom. It's got a little cool shoe on the top. These are like $4.99 or something like that. Dirt cheap, probably not very good or not very strong and reliable, so, you know, be gentle with it, but it works just fine. And again, we're trying to keep the price as low as we possibly can. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that little 1/4-20 thread on the bottom and we're going to attach it onto the top of our monitor mount. And here we have our entire top handle rig, where you're going to put your phone, your top handle, you have the little monitor mount, and then that is all going to slide directly onto the NATO rail that is built onto the top of the cage that we have purchased. So just take the handle, slide it on, get it lined up in the middle, and then lock down the screw. Now next, let's talk about the phone setup that we're going to be using. There are two great apps that you can use to control and wirelessly monitor your camera. And I say wirelessly because you have no cables needed. You can just use the battery that is built into your phone and it works great. For the ZVE10, you're going to need either the Imaging Edge app, which is pretty buggy, but can work as long as, for me, I found I had to have my phone in airplane mode with my Wi-Fi and Bluetooth turned on. Imaging Edge app works really well, and also if you take photos or take some clips, you can transfer them directly onto your phone, or there's another program called Monitor Plus, which you could use instead. Also works great, but I don't think it has that transfer feature. I could be wrong though. So I'm going to use the Imaging Edge app. It is by Sony. Alright, so I've already connected my camera to this app, but if you haven't, just click add connection. We don't have any of the models that are mentioned here, so we're going to register other models. We're going to scan the QR code. Now on the camera, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your menu, and you want to go over to the network page, Smartphone Connect, click Connection, and it's going to give you a QR code here. Now I'm not going to show you my QR code or any of my details. I'm going to scan it with my phone, get connected to it, and what I can do is I can click on remote shooting, and that is going to give me a monitor. So now we have our phone connected. You can kind of see here it is connected on top. So as you can see, the phone is currently connected to the camera, and there is a little bit of delay, as you can see, but it works pretty well altogether. I think it's a really nice little system. So now you have your wireless monitor control for your camera. Now if you're interested, I also have added a really cheap little USB-C to Lightning cable, or you could use a USB-C to USB-C depending on which phone you have, and connect your phone back to this battery plate as well. That's going to keep your phone charging and your camera charging kind of at all times, which is going to be quite nice. But that's kind of an optional extra. Most phone batteries are pretty decent, so but just keep an eye on it. Now the nice thing about this camera is you can actually control all of your settings over on this side of the page. So you've got your shutter speed, you've got your aperture, you've got your ISO, and you can change all of these settings directly from here. Changing your shutter speed, you can also start and stop recording of the camera, which is a pretty nice little system. So you basically got a wireless monitor with wireless control for the camera, no cables needed. And then the really nice thing about this setup is, let's say you stick this on a tripod and you are maybe filming yourself, well, you can actually just detach your phone. And as you can see here, we've got our wireless monitor set up, which works great. So that's what we're going to be using for this setup. We've got wireless monitor. It's a great way to save a little bit of money. What I would say is if you're going to upgrade any piece of this kit, probably just get yourself a monitor. There's some really great monitors out there, pretty low prices. This works, but it's not super ideal. Sometimes it gets disconnected, it can be a little bit finicky, but if this is all that you have, again, we're only working on a really low budget, then this works great. Last thing we're gonna add, obviously, is a matte box. This is the Small Rig Mini Matte Box. It comes with a whole bunch of step-up rings for connecting any lens that you want to this matte box. We're going to use the 67mm filter thread here because that is what this camera uses. Get that clipped on to the front here. And here we have a sweet looking setup. You've got your tripod plate, so you can attach it to a tripod. You got a nice top handle, which can work really well. You got a big side handle here. You've got a battery powering your camera and your monitor or your phone if you want to. But obviously it's got its own built-in stuff. So this is a really great little setup, and everything in the end I think cost me a total of like $248 and a few cents. So if you're wanting to get a cinema rig set up and you don't want to be spending $600 to $1,000 to $2,000 on a $500 camera, which you probably shouldn't be, then you could build up this, have the kind of, you know, if you're a beginner, you're just getting started, you want a cool looking camera rig, but you don't have the money to spend, that's okay. Go ahead and do something like this. Build up something small, get yourself excited to use your camera, and start making some money with it. But I want to know what you think. What do you think about building up cinema rigs? Do you think it's a ridiculous exercise to do with cheap cameras like this? It might well be for a lot of people, and that's also okay. Do you enjoy doing this sort of thing? I want to hear in the comments down below. If you have any suggestions or any problems with any of these setups that you have, please leave them in the comments below. I try to get to as many of those as I can. And don't forget to head over to Instagram to get into that giveaway for Luminar Neo. And a big thank you to them for sponsoring this video and making this sort of thing possible. And I appreciate all you viewers. If you have enjoyed the video, do hit the like button, drop a comment down below, or maybe even subscribe as we continue to build this channel. I appreciate all of you for doing so, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.